All right, let's see if this works. So basically the idea is that you can send, as you can see on the screen, send a short clip, max 90 seconds. Or it can just be, can you check out between 2:30 and whatever. Hey, Julian. And then I can help you out if you have any questions. So, yeah. Let's see. Why is this so annoying? There we go. Sound all right, Julian? It's good. Lewis Potter, hey, how long have you had the Solar? Any issues with the fretboard cracking? They seem like fantastic guitars. Other than that, sleep from I've had Solars probably longer than most people because you can't see it now, but oh, you can. The blue one here, right below. That's I believe it's one of the first that he made. Ola, that is. And this is all the ones that I got is like prototypes, you know. So, and I have the only thing I saw was someone complained was that the Solar logo got faded, but I haven't really seen that on mine. So I don't know. But Ola is really stand-up guy, and he makes things right, so I wouldn't worry about that. Hey, Jonah. So I think, you know, it's the models that I have range from I think like 800 euros to 1200 euros. So they're not like Sir or, you know, that price range, but for the price range, I think they're way better than the actual price indicates, because I have a, you know, Paul Reed Smith that's, when I bought it back in the early 90s, it was like a lot, right? So, and this is one of those legit Paul Reed Smiths, and a good Fender and whatever. So I don't feel like, oh, what's this hunk of shit when I pick up a Solar. And also, I wouldn't be playing them if I didn't like them. So what's the point, right? But I think people get that twisted. Like, if you are endorsed by a company, or you endorse a company, however you want to look at it, and you don't like the instrument, what's the point if you're stuck playing them? And also, I'm not stuck playing these. Mine and Ola's contract is basically a handshake. So he doesn't care if I play other guitars. As you can see, when he still plays other guitars on his own channel. So I think, you know, it's, I do it because I like them. Just a couple of dud guitars, some of them look fantastic. Awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, well, I mean, I think when he had some issues was during COVID, because he couldn't go to the factory. I hope I don't speak out of turn, but I don't think it's a secret that during COVID you obviously couldn't travel, so he couldn't go and make sure that everything was, you know, the way that he wanted it. So maybe then it was a dip or not. But I haven't really heard that much about it, so. Yeah, I mean, the thing with these is that you can't really get them in stores, right? Unless they're used. So, but that was kind of the point of his business idea to begin with, because he was tired of getting questions about his Ola's signature guitar that was called Solar, and they couldn't order it from Washburn, the factory, because they didn't have any infrastructure in place for that. And so basically it was like, I mean, he's not Steve Vai, right, in terms of popularity. So finding one in the wild was probably not that easy. So that's why he wanted to have a guitar of anyone that could, have UPS or DHL could get the guitar. Yeah, so basically check out the email, just ask at johnbjorkmusic.com if you have any questions, and I'll bring it up on the stream. And also I will make clips of these when I actually help someone, right? So you don't have to wade through the entire stream every time. So I think it's a good way to make content and help people at the same time. I'm kind of sick of just making a lesson like, oh, here's a great picking exercise. I'd rather help people straight up. And also, you don't need to send a clip to ask a question. It can be just a question in the chat as well. But if you want me to look at your actual playing, then you can do that. Even though that's like, someone watching you pee, basically. I promise to be nice. I wouldn't be an asshole about it, so. And also, it's just my opinion anyway, so if you're like, oh, I don't give a fuck, great, then you don't need to take my opinion, so. Julian, I don't know if you're serious about stuff. You have your quirky sense of humor, so but maybe you have a bossa nova-esque piece. I don't know. But I can't check out a whole piece of music though. That would take too long. It's just a specific thing. And also, I'm not here to review your song, like, because again, that's so subjective. Like, yeah, I like it, or oh, I don't like it, but I will tell you I like it anyway. Yeah, I think whenever I go check something out now, the audio gets all crappy, so I think I need to have it in my email so I can download it. Do you have a method for keeping your creativity flowing? I often find myself in a songwriting rut lately. I feel I make a lot of technical progress, just the songwriting side. Well, approach songwriting same way you would approach technique practice. In a way that you can practice songwriting, right? So I don't know how many people know this, but I spent almost 10 years making close to 700 tracks for Epidemic Sound, and I was learning how to orchestrate and compose for orchestra at the same time, and yeah, so I did a shit ton of music. Didn't practice any guitar for almost 10 years, but I was a better player when I came back from it because I was just music all day, every day. But what I did to get better, that I was taught from my teacher that I started with, he said that you listen to, in this case, an orchestral piece of music, and then when you find a section like, oh, this is really cool, just like when you listen to a guitar solo, like, oh, that lick is really cool, or that riff is really cool, and then you would transcribe that. So I would write it down I use Sibelius. I would write with the digital notation as much as I could, and then since it was mostly orchestral stuff and even film scores, I have the scores for that, so then I can go check my work as well, which was really important when it comes to orchestral stuff, because it's so dense, so it's pretty much impossible to hear like, oh shit, on this like melody with all the strings, there was also the second clarinets played, the same line as the violas or whatever. That's really hard to hear. But if you take it away when you make your own music, you don't get the same vibe. So it was really important to fill stuff like that in, and also when you fuck things up, basically. But so I would have a small piece of music, or like a very 4 to 8 bars or whatever, a musical idea. Then I would reverse engineer that. So I would make my own version. So first I would like have it all in full score. Then I would get it down to 4 staves, so I could see like take away all the doublings and stuff, and then you see what's the actual music that's going on here. And you can do the same thing with any, take Metallica, whatever band you're into, and do the same, and you can see like, and this is not just the guitars. I hope that's obvious, but you want to look at all the instruments. You can see how they do stuff together, because some of my favorite moments in really nice guitar music is when there's no guitar at all, because like it's just the backup instruments doing their thing, and it sets up a certain vibe. And if you're only guitar focused, then you're gonna miss that. And how are you gonna write that? So doing it that way and keep refilling the sort of reservoir of musical ideas. Damn, that sounded very snooty. But if you take Scott Henderson from Tribal Tech, teacher at MI, he basically said, shit in, shit out. So you need to listen to good stuff. And that just means that stuff you think is good, right? But going through it, the process that I just said, learning a section and then recreating it yourself, that forces you to really make sure that you understand it. So you can get the same, you can get the same vibe. And initially you might copy like very closely that anyone will be listening like, oh, where did you get that riff? I don't know. It's like, that sounds a very shitty version of the Smoke on the Water. Okay, but then you take like, why does this work? Oh, it's the guitar and then the organ, and then this happens and this happens, and you can take these smaller pieces, and that's how you build up your own vocabulary for like when you write music. So. Let's see if you send something then, Julian. Actually, maybe I can play it on my phone without fucking up the stream. Let's see. Dun, dun, dun. That's really cool. I don't know if you could hear that, but I like that. Very cool. Was one run there in the beginning that sounded a bit like off the beat a little bit, but overall it was really cool. Invalid email. Really, are you sure? That would suck. I'll try sending myself an email. Is that like the height of narcissism? Hey John, you look nice today. No, but seriously, Julian, that sounded really good. Very good. I like the phrasing overall. Also, it kind of reminded me of like Guthrie now. I don't know why. I mean, that's pretty good. You know, can't say more than that. You improved a lot since I last heard you. Okay. Ask. What? Let's see. Stuff. Test. So I'm emailing myself now because someone said the email didn't work. No, it worked for me, Julian. Are you sure you got it correct? ask@johnbjorkmusic.com. So it's not gmail.com. These I'm gonna try to do as often as possible because, you know, if I have some good interaction with you guys, and you know the one girl that's might pop up, then that's great to just use the clip function and make a separate video about that. So yeah, I think now in the days of AI, this connection is much better. Let's see. That's pretty cool, Thorpe. I can see how you pick up musical ideas that way. Listen to the same genre, same genre. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, you know, I love Master Pups as well, but if you feel stale, you need to branch out a bit. Santosh plays guitar. Hi Don, I'm an intermediate rock metal guitar player. Lately I've been interested in classical music and I want to learn playing the classical guitar. What resources would you recommend? I mean, there's so much stuff now, but I would find a good classical player online. Maybe even Sore Hands. No. I mean, actually, he might give guitar lessons, but there's quite a few good classical guitar players. So depending on your budget, of course, but I'm sure there's tons of books as well that you can check out to get get into the technique and all that stuff. But it depends on how deep you want to go. One book that I liked when I was into flamenco stuff, I mean, they have so many flamenco guitar books as well, but Pumping Nylon was a good one. It's a silly name, but it's actually about building your technique on a nylon string guitar. Randy Rose and Alexa Lara have some awesome new classic segments. Yeah, they do. Arpan, I'm really bad with pull-offs. I can mostly do hammer-on legato. What do you think, Joe? I think the important thing when it comes to pull-offs is that you prepare the next finger, right? Because if you go like that, so I have one note here, then 3 notes here. What a lot of people do, including myself before I realized this, is that I would do this, right? So I have 1 note, 2 notes, 3 notes, right? Easy enough. But if you look at this, if you don't prepare these 2 at the same time, you actually get 4 motions and only 3 notes, right? So because you get 1, 2, 3, no sound, 4. And that's really weird for your brain. So if you can do this, 1, 2, 3, 3 motions, 3 sounds, then it's way easier. So it's not about holding all the fingers down, because that's gonna really tire your hand out very quickly. But especially on like the pull-offs, focusing on when you change strings, getting those 2 fingers down, whichever 2 fingers it might be, helps a lot. And I realized this when I was working on tapping, because I saw that if I would focus on, say, something like that, if I could focus on hitting the first note after the tap, sync that up, instead of, right? Then it would be way easier to get it to sound right. So, yeah, give that a try. But that's one of the more important things. And also realizing that you don't need to do that, right? You can, if you have distortion on, and you know, I like a lot of distortion, but I don't use any extra compression or anything like that. But it's almost impossible for me to lift my pinky here and not make some sort of a sound. So you don't need to do that, because I used to do that a lot. Like I would listen to, you know, Steve Vai here, do stuff like that, and I would be like, how the fuck does he do that? Because I was like, so way overdid it a lot, and didn't realize that when you actually play it fast, or like, when you want to play it fast, you don't need to do, any extra, you know, you don't need to push down really hard. Just the momentum alone. So that's another thing as well, where you kind of, if you do fast transitions, that will help you legato a lot. Anyway, let's see. Yeah, well, there you go, Julian. Well, it's good that I checked it again. So, Lewis, I'll definitely tune in tomorrow and have some clips prepared. Yeah, that's why I'm here. So, but again, you know, take my advice or leave it. It's not like, you know, and also I'm a very nice guy. But I will tell you if I think something is up, because that's why you want to do it. Winelius, Acke, how many guitarists have you taught, coached, or have developed beyond your own playing abilities? No one. I never teach, you know, can't teach the real stuff. Acke, you know that. No, but seriously, I don't know. It's just, how do you gauge that, you know? It's not like I go around with like, here's my BPM cards. So it's more about, I might have a better technique than someone else, but they might still prefer their playing. So it's hard to say, well, what's better or worse. Thank you. So basically, find a good classical player here and get a good method book. Yeah, I think when I started doing the, you know, the flamenco stuff, YouTube wasn't really a thing in that regard. So it was like ordering DVDs, and I took some lessons as well from a class Swedish flamenco guy. It's really good. So. Thank you. So basically, finding venture is me exactly, and yeah. Well, anything you do, working through the 1, 2, 4, and 1, 3, 4, because those fingerings will occur in all scales pretty much. By you saying, "Wow, I couldn't do that." No, I mean, this sounds very conceited, or that I had shit students, but no, there's nothing that a student that I've had that I've been like, wow, I couldn't do that. More than it was like, Dave, you know, they wrote a song that they played or whatever. So it's not about, but the actual level of like, no, that's way beyond me. It wasn't like, you know, all of a sudden I have Matteo Mancuso and like, yeah, shit, that finger stuff doesn't, I can't do that. And then, or like you have some 8-finger tapping dude, whatever. So, but that's, so yeah, no, I haven't, also I don't really think that way, so whatever. In my experiences, where it sounds when you develop your picking, your legato also improves. Also, like, yeah, but also very much the same way, the other way, I would say, because when you do picking, it's down and up on a single string. But you can do, so many combinations with your fingers. So if you have bad control of your left hand or your fretting hand, that's gonna cause a lot of problems. So what a lot of people find when they work on legato more, their technique just gets better overall. So what do I think about pick slanting? It should be banned. It's racist, it's communist, it's Islamophobic and anti-Semitic in the same time. Can't believe we're in 2026 and people are still talking about pick slanting. It's a scourge of the earth. No, it's pick slanting is not something you really need to think about unless you're very stuck in your way, like you always have your hand like this, because then you're always gonna have trouble changing strings on an upstroke. Saying that worked out fine for Eric Johnson and Yngwie, because that's what they do, and then they solved that by adding pull-offs where needed and so on. But I see it more like if I have a run and I find like every time I get to that string, let's say I like, that doesn't work, what's going on? Then I can check and see like, okay, I have a like really clear pick slant here. So when I do the downstroke, I basically have to jump around the string to not hit it twice. So to me, it's kind of like if my car doesn't start, I have I can check like, do I have petrol? Yes. Okay. Is the battery dead? No. Okay, I'm fucked. I need to call the shop, right? So I see it like that, like the very, very first things you check if something doesn't work. But I'm not too like concerned with, because if I do this, you can see my pick is moving a bit, right? So I get that, but I'm not in control of that. It's just stuff that I've developed by doing this. And when you do enough reps, this stuff starts to fall into place. Unless you're really forcing yourself to be like, no, I'm never gonna let yourself feel how the pick should move. And what I mean by that, without sounding like I'm sitting here with crystals and incense, it's more about feeling I think the best example is if you play this. I don't have a sound on now, I know, but I don't want to overpower what I'm talking about. So if I do this, so down, up, down, up, down, just a pentatonic thing, and now I have like quite a pronounced pick slant here. So I can clear the string, right? And you don't need this big of a pick slant just for demonstration, right? But if you do this, maybe this tempo, and then you keep playing, but you change the pick slant, and it starts feeling like you're swimming upstream. It really feels like, you're like working against yourself. And that's the kind of thing you want to be cognizant of when you practice other things as well. You probably found certain days where like, oh, this works really well today, but then other days like, what the fuck is going on? And that's usually when you get the pick slant a bit off. So if you don't try to be like, yeah, this feels like absolute shit, so I'm just gonna keep doing it for 100 days and then it will feel great. Some things you can solve like that, but you know, this pick slanting thing here, for example, if you don't change that, either by knowing that it's the wrong pick slant, and it's easier when you have like even number of notes per string because then it's the same pick slant, or just by being more mindful when you practice. Thank you, Josie. Fair point. Pick slanting is overrated. Yeah, I think it's like anything, it becomes a bit cultish, you know. But saying that, I always say this. I think Troy Grady is a genius. He's a great player, and it kind of, the only reason why I pay attention to that stuff at all is because he's so good at what he does. So, the thing. Are you familiar with Brett Hines' chicken picking style? If so, have you gone through? If so, have you gone through any of the Mastodon songs? When you said chicken picking, I think, and Brett or Brent, I thought about what's his face? Brent Mason. No, I'm not familiar with Mastodon at all. You mean chicken picking like this stuff? Paganini transcribes well to guitar on his piece of finger. Yeah, it's certainly, well, I shouldn't say that. It's certainly harder than violin, because violin is incredibly hard. But I think just because it's our tuning is a bit weird compared to violin, and also you know, the distances are much greater as well. I mean, it's a reason why you don't hear a lot of those pieces on like cello and those instruments. No, I'm not familiar with that at all, actually. I do a lot of hybrid picking myself, but I haven't really checked out Mastodon. I mean, obviously I've heard of the band, but I've never listened to them. And I also know that Ben Eller filled in for a while, right? Oh, isn't that the Canadian dude, the instrumental dude with the Schecter guitars? Nick Johnston? Is that his name? He plays with him now? Did he quit the band, or just because it was bored, or did he, you know, fired or whatever? did. Oh man, that's horrible. Anyway, listen some old Gilbert seminars yesterday when it was like 20. I don't care who's out there right now, technique wise, picking wise. Like, phew, Gilbert was just next level. And Vinnie Moore as well, but it's crazy. Thank you. Well, I mean, I basically took a break from guitar, not because I didn't plan it that way, but when I started doing the orchestral stuff, I was like, holy shit, this is so much work. I will never have time to like think of this as, practice guitar on the side as well. So, and when you spend so much time in that sort of musical world, it's gonna affect you, so. Let's see, I'm not even gonna try with these names. Jordy, I'm gonna call you. Playing 16th note, alternate picking between 80 to 100 BPMs. I can't stabilize the movement on my right wrist. Uncontrolled tremors and jumps occur. This doesn't have a low. Yeah, that's quite common actually. I used to have, and sometimes still have, if I don't, if I haven't practiced or been away, I need to kind of get back into it. We're like, certain tempos, like 16th notes around 120, 130, can feel kind of weird. Exactly what you said. I don't get sudden jumps or whatever, but it can feel like, oh, this feels like the wheels are about to fall off. Even though I'm fine doing way quicker and way slower. So what helped me a lot is just put on the metronome where it's difficult, or drum machine, whatever, just a tempo, and let's say it's this tempo. And you go 3, 4. And it's not about those exact notes. I'm just making up stuff here in E minor. It's just, and you can take something. You can take if you want to be more structured. You can take like, okay, I'm gonna take this harmonic minor scale, B harmonic minor. Actually, no, B flat harmonic minor. So it's jazz, in between the notes. Anyway, so you just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Right, so you do that, and you have as much of a pause as you need. So if you feel that you're starting getting tense, and then 110 16th notes. Yeah, okay, so what's that then? Hold on. Actually, I have the metronome here. Can you guys hear this? As in the click. No, you can't. Let's see, I'll do this. Now you can hear it, right? So that's 110, and that's all right for me. But let's say Winelius and you, Jordy, maybe go a bit slower. Just either take a scale like that, straight up and down, or just take a phrase, whatever you have trouble with. But the rule is you go beat to beat. So you go. And you don't have to mute and beat. You can start on whatever note you want. If you want 2 beats rest, you do that. So you want to find basically where you can do it without getting tense. Because if it's really a tricky tempo, you might feel really off already by going taka taka ta, right? So then you stay with that for a while, and then when that starts feeling good, now comes the trickiest part, because when you go from 1 beat to 2 beats, you basically have twice as much work to do, right? So that will be trickier, so be prepared for that. And then you keep extending that at that tricky tempo. And I found that was the absolute best thing, because then you can be like, you start feeling like, okay, I need to relax a bit more when I do this, or whatever. So that's what has solved it for me and for tons of students as well. Doesn't happen, right away, but it's fairly quick actually. But this hinges upon that you can actually do, that you don't need to be, do much faster than that. But if the problem is like, oh, I've never gone over 110 BPMs in my life, then it's a different thing. But if you can do 150, but you have trouble with 110, but you have no trouble with 80, then it's gonna work for you. So it's not the same thing. Hope that makes sense. I'm currently learning Cold Sweat. Have you gotten any advice for solo section, fast picking, John Size, which I've been strong with, but quick minute? No, I don't think I've ever listened to that. I have to check it out. Yeah, but that's the thing, Winelius. It is that thing where you have this sort of middle no man's land where it feels really awkward. But the way to deal with it, for me at least, has been to do this. Like you take just a small, 1 beat to the next, and it's important to do that because it's really weird to go 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. You want to get that 1 2 3 4 1 1 2 3 4 1 or 1 2 3 4 5, just so you get that beat to beat feeling. And it's about getting that relaxation and not being like, oh yeah, I barely made it. You want to be really like, yeah, that's solid. You can do that, whenever you want. So. You're welcome. Let's see, guitar higher. Also, that actually moves speed up for you. Someone will be saying some thing that wants the one that seems like makes most sense. No, I don't do that at all, actually. So this is a different thing we're talking about. And a lot of people talk about doing that, but I don't agree with that because that's built on accuracy. It's not built about me going, right? It's built that I can do that is actually synchronized. And you can't tell me that you're going to build your synchronization better at, I can barely keep it together, than we can focus on everything and getting like complete sync when you do it. So whenever I practice technique, I do that at a tempo where it's like, it sounds like I can't play guitar, pretty much. Well, not really, but it's very slow. Just to amass the amount of reps needed to really train my nervous system or whatever is controlling the synchronization to keep that shit together. Then after that, then I can use, the speeding up with a metronome and speed burst and all that stuff after I've done my actual technique programming. So that's worked the best for me because the problem guitar HVAC is that when you sit at the edge of your abilities the whole time, it can be very tempting to be like, no, this sounds pretty good, right? And in reality, you kind of sound like, no, it's all right, I'm at the edge of my abilities. It's kind of like if you're trying to learn the perfect golf swing, right? Would you go out on the green or like the driving range and just swing the club around where it's like, it's kind of shitty. You're 80% there, or maybe 70% there, but then you feel like, if I just keep swinging this club around, the 10,000 first swing, it will just lock in, and it's going to be a Tiger Woods, type swing. I don't think that happens, because I don't see the correlation between, like when I go to the gym, it's progressive overload. You want to push, you want to go close to failure depending on the exercise. Yes, but we're not building muscle here. We're building a skill. So it's kind of like learning how to throw a punch or a kick. If you do that with a shitty technique, you're just gonna ingrain that shitty technique by doing more reps. And that's what I've seen in my own playing. I've seen it in like classical musicians that can play better than all of us combined, still practice very slowly. So that's the hill I'm gonna die on. And then I don't really care what like guitar hack someone comes out with, like, yeah, you can just learn to shred in 2 days. So, and also, if it works for you, keep doing it. So that's another sort of thing for me. I have my ideas on the best way to do things, but if a certain thing works for you, why do you give a shit how I do it? Then do you, right? But that's very hard online because people need to have an opinion about other people's business. So. Also, John, I have to come out as a Bracer Metronome semi-believer. Yeah, but also you've done a shit ton of slow work as well, Ake. So be careful there before you blame or think like, oh, bracing the metronome is gonna work the best when you've done, you've done a shit ton of slow work. So no. Exactly, guitar whack. HVAC, I know it's HVAC, but whatever. So, because you can't push things that are not there. That's and it's fine to try things at speed and like see where you're at and then try to fix things. But a lot of people get stuck with like they start the metronome and then they go up to a certain tempo and then they sit at like it doesn't work, but since yesterday they were like at the same BPMs and now they really want to see progress by pushing up the metronome another notch, and then they feel good about themselves, but they know in the back of their head they're like, yeah, that was kind of shit. And over time that will degrade your technique, because if you stay too long and do more bad reps, then it's not going to be good for you. That's just, the way it is. But that's also like what, let's see. In terms of picking, while we're on the topic, do you find 3 note per string stuff much easier than 2 note per string? I will find 2. I mean, here. Not really, I mean. It's a different feeling for sure. That's what it is. And also you have less time on each string. But it's kind of weird, because if you do something like this, right, which is 3 notes per string, and then you do the same thing that's 3 notes per string. Let's see. This still feels different, even though it's the same picking. Right? Actually, that's not the same picking. But you know what I mean? It's very weird how that's. But I think it's because of it, you kind of feel a bit more stressed out when you do 2 fingers because you need to move quicker. Well, yes and no, Josie. I don't think you need to. A lot of people misunderstand this as well and think that just because I practice slowly, that I'm like, oh, I never play fast enough. That's when I practice technique, as in like repeating something. If I have something that I find that's tricky, like I find a tempo where it's absolutely perfect and where I can focus on what I call finger choreography and all that stuff. You can find out all about that stuff in the practice room. That's the free practice room, and you have a free 30-day course there and how I practice that stuff. But then I want to do that. But then when I'm done practicing, then just try going for it. And if it's a bit sloppy, then it doesn't really matter, because you're not going to sit there and just max out the reps where you have, 10 to 1 sloppy reps against a clean one. So you think of it as like a pyramid. You want the top of the pyramid when you really you go for it speed-wise, but the base of the pyramid is going to be a shit ton of good reps. So even if you're a bit off at the top, that's going to be fine, because you kind of get the best of both worlds. I don't believe in just sit there, for 6 months and play slowly, and then all of a sudden you're going to play Yngwie speeds. So. Vanelius, you agree that everything works as long as it reinforces the right thing, i.e. proper technique? Yeah, I would say so, but I think the thing is, even though I could practice much faster, even at this tempo, right, or the tempo that you had issues with, the 110, I could sit there and play everything. And, it would be clean and all right, but it's definitely going to be better for my technique to do it where I can focus on the transition time, how my fingers are moving, how relaxed I am, and all that stuff. So you're going to get quality before quantity in that case. So did you practice more with exercise and songs to get your current level of playing? Because I've seen arguments for both. A problem with songs is that your technique can become quite lopsided. And what I mean by that is that if you learn, let's say you're working on something where it's a lot of pentatonic stuff, and you're sitting there for weeks and just doing pentatonic stuff, and you do nothing else. And then you're like, oh, I want to learn this now. Or you want to go something like that, where you have this fingering. That doesn't occur in a normal pentatonic scale, right? You would have 1/4, 1/3, and if you're hardcore, you might play pentatonic like that with 2/4, but most people wouldn't do that. But my point is that it's kind of like you go around, you go to the gym, and you just skip doing bicep curls with the left hand because, for whatever reason, right? You saw Arnold in an old magazine, and it was this angle. You saw his right biceps, the right bicep, that's where it's at. It's a stupid analogy, but that's kind of the way it's gonna be, because if you spend a lot of time working on just the pentatonic stuff, for example, you're not going to be using a lot of the combinations that you can be using here. And so you're going to feel a bit weird when you come back to that. And then that's going to be really annoying, because you're you can sit there and I can play all this fast pentatonic stuff, but when I try to play just a, way slower 3-note per string scale, it doesn't work. It's why? But that's because your technique becomes lopsided. But it's very easy to not become that way. You can still you don't need to do either or. You can have one part of your practice where you go through either scale exercises where you use more of your fingers, or you just do full-on systematic stuff, which sounds like shit, but I like it because it's easier to control the combinations, so you know that you don't overdo it on some combinations and you do less on others. So just these 24 finger combinations, for example. Whatever. It's not musical at all, but it helps you to balance the hand. And then you can do way less of that. So if you I don't know, if you have 2 hours to practice per day and you spend 20 minutes or 30 minutes even on systematic stuff, then you're good. You can have your pentatonic picking fest for 3 months, and your technique won't be any worse for it. It will probably just be better. So. Well, no, I don't actually. So if I go play that, that's not necessarily a lick for me in my head. It's more these building blocks. I have descending sixes. Whatever it is. Descending 6, descending 6, descending 6, then move on on the same string, right? So that can be a lick, right? But you can also do, you know, connect it in other ways, and that's just, you know, ascending and descending sixes. So when you start adding more sequences, and you know the scales, you can connect much larger patterns, and it doesn't become this like cookie cutter of like, yeah, so here's my picking lick, and that's it, right? So every time we jam, hi, I'm John. Yes, you know, that's that. Actually, I had a friend at GIT when I studied. He was a great player, but he was kind of like that, and he said that as well. He could improvise, you know, really good phrasing. He played jazz as well, but his rock stuff was like really solid picking stuff. But he could only end like that. So every time we jammed, it was like, all right, here comes the picking, and that was that, and that's not so useful. That's more like a guitar store type of technique. And that's exactly why I have worked on technique a lot, HVAC, because I don't want to be stuck with like, oh, okay, so I have this lick now, and now I'm gonna connect that with that lick, and then that lick's gonna go into that lick. That's not how I want to do it. Yeah, exactly. And also that's why I'm so careful about this stuff. You know, my technique is better or worse depending on how much I practice anyway, but in general, I want to have a technique where when I want to learn something, it's more about where, you know, what order do I play stuff in, not can I play this physically, you know? But that's also why I'm so careful about programming this correctly, because if you work on this and you get it to a stage where it's sloppy, just because you're trying to learn a new lick up here, that doesn't mean that that's going to work then, because you built a lot of sloppy stuff from a lick over here, for example. So you need to, you don't need to do anything, I'm not your dad, you can do whatever you want, but I found that to lessen the frustration would be to work on things, see what's reoccurring, ascending and descending sixes, Paul Gilbert one, Michelangelo Badio variation, and the whatever, right? So you can combine these techniques and put them together, or sequences, and put them together in whatever way you see fit at the time. And then when you learn a new lick, you're most likely gonna see like, oh, okay, so he starts here, then it goes here, and then, oh, here it plays a sequence I haven't seen before, and then maybe we need to learn like a, oh, you haven't seen that turnaround before. But then, you know, that's what you need to practice, because you can already do that and that part of it. So then you need to practice and you can do that in different ways. Or even better, be like, okay, what's this? And then all of a sudden, you're Yngwie. No, you're not. But hopefully you see what I mean here. I see, so balance is a positive, both songs. Yeah, because I used to be a bit like, I can't decide what's better, you know, doing this exercise all across the fretboard, or just staying in one position and doing it for X amount of time. And then I was like, I think I can do both, right? And you can. Same thing with learning songs and working with technique. You can and you should. So that's the thing. When I do the whole Practice Room Pro coaching stuff, right? It's, if you tell me like, well, I can have a guitar in my hand for 2 hours a day, I would write you a schedule for the most 90 minutes per day, because you need that, you know, 30 minutes or more to just play around, learn new licks, push things with a metronome, whatever you find fun as a reward for putting in that practice stuff. And also this technique stuff, I just happen to have so many goals of stuff that I want to play and beyond, that I can't ever see myself stop practicing technique ever. But if I was like, I fucking love AC/DC, which I do. But if that was like that's the pinnacle of whatever I want to be playing, I could have stopped practicing technique years ago, right? So whatever level of music you want to write, learn or whatever, it's gonna have a technique ceiling. And once you reach that ceiling, if you're fine with that, then you can just learn new things and have fun. So you don't need to work on technique, all the time. Once you get to a certain level, it's just if you want to push it further, yes, you need to do it. So obviously, if you're into Dream Theater, you have way more work to do than if you're into, I don't know, Silverchair or Nirvana. What velocity do you think is a good spot for a solo 6 notes of 130? I don't see music that way at all, because uh, I used to actually when when I just got to MI. Now I was 16 then, and I was like, okay, so I can play this. And like my top speed was like, oh, I can do that. So that's 16th notes. So then like, oh, we're gonna jam. Like, oh shit, that backing track is 160, and I can do this at 150. And then I told my older friends, and they laughed their asses off and like, you can't think about music that way. Just play. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's a better way to do it. So actually, since then, I've never give a shit about BPMs. Like, oh, I want to play 16th notes at 200. It's like, yeah, but what? You're gonna be playing 16th notes at 200. I'm not saying that was 200, but if I do a chromatic thing like that, it's gonna be way easier than if I try to do like, some weird atonal thing that a lot of string changes. So it doesn't really mean much. It's so context based. So, and again, it just goes back to the sort of guitar dick measuring contest. So. Yeah, I hate having like oh, it has to be this time. It's gonna be the time that it's gonna be. But if you follow the channel and have notifications on, you'll get an email alert or some alert every time I'm live. So that would be a good idea to do. And also, you can always send a question, and then I may or may not include it, but doesn't hurt to ask. No, I just learn riffs, and I do that with students as well. I mean, unless it's like if you work on funk stuff, you need to get that going and be able to go. Meaning what I'm talking about here is being able to keep the hand going when you're not playing or when you're not hitting the strings. Because whenever I see someone play any type of funk adjacent stuff, even if you go like if I see the guitars go like this, then I know it's gonna be like, ooh, it's gonna be a long night with that cover band. And that's not being snobby, it's just you're never gonna have the same timing if you keep the right hand going. And it's going to be exceptions to that, of course. When you have like this super up-tempo thing that Corey Wong does, for example, then it doesn't make sense to be like, just, but for more like laid back up to sort of mid-tempo-ish stuff, definitely get the hand going. So that's a different thing. Then, but other than that, all the technique practice, it's gonna be, that's gonna help you with all the riff stuff as well. And then when it comes to riffs and things like that, why would you work on an exercise when you can, like, I want to learn the, you know, master puppets or whatever. Then you have a lot of stuff to work on there. And they're almost kind of exercising as well. It's a lot of repetition, and it's kind of like easily loopable, so you can do that stuff. So I find that much better for you, because then you can also, you know, build your vocabulary and that stuff. Have a good one, Lewis. Good questions. Hope that helps, Chris. The difference with soloing technique is that there's so many variables there, right? What you can do. So it makes more sense to have exercises that can shore up any weaknesses you have, and also you work on actual, you know, licks that you like and whatever. Any more questions? Otherwise, I'm a bit, yeah, I'm 1 hour 6 minutes here, so. Have a good one, everyone.